Yes.
So we have to make sure we click this option now because we had
Yes.
hiccups in the past.
I paused it when we first joined, and then now I made sure it's resumed.
I'm sorry. Technology sometimes fails us. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Are you gonna
Great.
start admitting? Accept.
Yeah, I think we should. We have about five in the waiting room. Maybe we'll start admitting them and maybe we'll get to know them while we wait for the rest.
Okay, brilliant.
Amazing. So admitting everyone right now. Lamia, all to you.
Thank you. Excellent. مرحبا السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
أهلا وسهلا. Hope you're all doing well today. Thank you for joining us. We're waiting for a few more people to join us, but we'd love to take this opportunity as you were here early to get to know you. We are joined by my colleagues, Dr. Maya, Abir, Ula, and of course our speaker for today, Sarah Williams. So please feel free to introduce yourself, unmute, or in the chat, drop us your name, which organization you represent or university, and the country you're joining us from. Yes, Ranim.
Okay, so I'm Ranim. I'm 18 from Lebanon. I study in the Lebanese University and I'm really interested in social work.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Ranim.
You're welcome. I'm
Great to
really
have.
happy to be here.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to share? Hi, Dana. Good to see you.
Hi, good afternoon. How is everyone doing?
Great. Thank you so much. I was just saying we're waiting for the rest of the participants to join, and while we wait, we'll take this opportunity to introduce ourselves, where we're joining from, and the organization we represent.
Oh, perfect. I'll give my intro. So hi everyone, I'm Dana Saleh. I'm a senior manager at the American University of Sharjah, and I'm from Lebanon, living in UAE.
Welcome.
Thank
Welcome, Dana. Lovely to have you.
you. Thank you.
I see the chat has already been populated. Yes. Hi, Joelle.
Mostly me, I'm chatting away.
Yes, excellent. And I see a lot of names of people who have joined our previous session, so welcome back. I'm glad you're finding the Majlis series of value to you. We hope to continue to bring this value, inshallah, to everyone. We'll just give it one more minute and then we can officially start the program. Anyone else would like to go? Hi, Jan. Welcome, Jana. Sorry, I introduced the team before you joined.
Hello, 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 Sarah. We're glad to have you, and I'm really excited to the session.
Thank you. Thank you, Jana. So without further ado, maybe I'll start. Welcome to our fifth session of the Majlis series. We are so pleased to have you all here with us for this very important conversation on, what is concerning you and how can you respond to it. Of course, this is a timely session. We're jumping a lot in between different unknowns and uncertainties. So I hope that you can make use of this session as we continue to push on with all our, important life stages. You're all either in university, you're about to graduate, or you're starting your job, or wherever you are or wherever you may be. Hopefully you'll find this of value. So this session is designed to be a safe and reflective space for you to pause and think about what might be weighing in on your mind. And of course, Sarah will show us, the practical ways that you can actually respond to this. Before I introduce Sarah, I just wanted to set some ground rules for our session today. Kindly note that the session is being recorded. So keep that in mind as you kind of choose what you want to share. We'd love to have your camera on. We're about 20 people here in this room. We'd love to have this as a nice closed session amongst ourselves. So please do keep it on if you feel comfortable doing so. Let's keep the space kind of respectful for all of us, and please type your questions, or if you're comfortable, unmute yourself and share it as we go. Again, this is a conversation that Sarah Williams will be leading, so we'd love for it to be as interactive as possible. It's my pleasure to introduce Sarah Williams, a therapist, psychology educator, and founder of the Life Stage Lab. She brings over 15 years of experience between the UAE and the UK, supporting children, young people, families, educators, and school communities. Her work focuses on helping people understand their emotions, navigating uncertainty, and of course, closing the loop on that by showing you practical ways and tools to respond to those eminent emotions. And so what makes this session very unique is that Sarah is bringing in her therapeutic insights into and applying them into practical real world scenarios, and hopefully to help keep us all grounded in the face of everything that's happening around us. We are very pleased to have you here with us, Sarah. So without further ado, I'll hand over to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. So first of all, I've got two screens here. I've moved you over to this screen. So if you see me looking back and forth, it's because I'm trying to navigate all the things on my screen. So thank you so much for having me. Time is a limited resource, and it's really precious. So I really appreciate that you've chosen to spend some of that time with me. I don't take that for granted. So let's get into some good stuff, shall we? So I would like you to have a look at the screen. Okay? Have a look at what is on the screen. And I want you to imagine that this session is in person. Okay, instead of being on the screen, we're in a seminar room or we're in a lecture hall. Okay, and you walk in and you see this box placed carefully on the table, and it's center stage. There's a spotlight on it. Okay, and there's the same number of us, about 20 of us, so it's really personal. And I'm looking around the room, I'm looking at everybody, and I point at you as an individual. And I say, put your hand in this box. That's the only thing I say to you. I say, put your hand in this box. Okay? I want you to, if you've got a pen and paper nearby, just write down. I want you to really put yourself in that situation. I want you to put down what is going through your mind and think about whether you want to put your hand in or not and why. Really place yourself in that situation. I said, put your hand in that box. Direct order. I'm going to give you 1 minute to write down your thoughts. Okie dokie. And if you feel comfortable, I've got one eye on the chat here. If you feel comfortable, please do share in the chat or on mic. I'd love it if someone would come on mic. Share any of those thoughts. Okay, so Raneem's kicking things off. Raneem's saying, I would do it because what's the worst thing that could happen? I might lose a good opportunity. Okay, Raneem, you're a bit of a risk taker there. Right? Okay, thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Anyone think the same? Lemmy, you're saying triggers are hitting you just looking at the box, okay? Yeah, so you're feeling like, maybe I don't want to put your hand in. Alia or Aaliyah, sorry, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, saying, I'm not doing it. What if it's a tarantula? So I'm with you there, Aaliyah. I'm exactly, that's the first, even though I made this, I was making it. I was like, oh, I tell you what, I wouldn't be putting my hand in that. And it's my activity. Exactly. Okay, I'm with you. Is there anyone else that wants to share anything else? What's going through your mind? I'd love to know. What's the running commentary? So Ali is saying, what if there's a tarantula in it? Dan is saying, it depends. I don't know. I feel like I'd want to give it a try, but the message is there for a reason. So there's this toing and froing that's going on in your mind. Exactly that. Okay. Keep all of that feeling with you. Remember how you feel. Okay. Now, what I would like you to do is, there's a poll, I think, isn't there? Lemia. Yeah, there's a poll. Okay. I would like you to vote. If you had a choice, so if you remember, I gave you a direct order, put your hand in that box. If you had the choice, okay, final choice, would you put your hand in the box? Yes or no?
So people are now answering in the poll. Interesting answers.
Really interesting. We'll give it about 10 more seconds. If you haven't voted, give it a go. We've got about 7 more people that haven't voted yet. And we're at 50-50. Wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't vote as a co-host.
No problem.
Mine would go for no.
Your vote would be no. So
And I
that's
will
going to
balance it out with a yes.
You will balance it, Jenna.
Yeah, and mine would be a hard pass as well. I'd be a no. Okay, we'll stop there. Thank you very much for everybody that shared. I appreciate you sharing your opinions. So we are at about 55%. So a slight majority of people are saying no. Okay, more than I expected are saying yes. So we've got some people that are all about taking chances in this group, which is quite unusual in circumstances like this. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that now. Okay. But the majority of people said they wouldn't do it. Okay, they wouldn't. Okay. Some people may have said yes because I'm a therapist, and lots of people are distrusting of therapists initially and think, is this a trick? I'm not going to give the answer that she probably expects me to give in case it's a trick. But typically, normally it's more around 80% of people that wouldn't put their hand in. Okay, why? Why is it that the majority of people wouldn't put their hand in? Because it's a typical human behavior that you wouldn't want to do that. It's a typical human behavior because we are biologically primed. Yes, exactly, around fear, right? We are biologically primed for survival. We are motivated to survive. We are driven to keep ourselves safe. Our brains are just not designed to keep us calm, right? They are designed to keep us safe. If you think about the fight or flight reflex, an automatic response to get yourself out of danger, be it running away or fighting for your life, you are designed to get into this state. It's the opposite of calm, right? And when I showed you that box, for the majority of people, even if you were someone that was like, yes, I would do it, there would have been a slight part of you that would be like, makes me a bit uncomfortable. I don't want to do that because I don't know what's in the box, what might happen. The sign's a bit dubious. I don't know what will happen, right? It doesn't feel safe, and we naturally seek safety. And this is a normal, healthy, rational human response, especially to the unknown. Okay? It is normal and natural to feel that. Because as we navigate life, we actively seek out 3 things. We want certainty, okay? We want control, and we want predictability, okay? Certainty is that feeling where we know what to expect, okay? Control is where we feel like we have choice over what's happening in our life. And predictability It's feeling like things are stable, familiar, that things make sense. Okay, and these 3 factors are really important for our well-being, for our psychological health. These are really, really important things. Okay, and research shows that when we don't have these things, we're further away from our emotional optimum. Our brains desire these things. And with that box activity that I just did with you there's uncertainty. We don't know the content of the box. We don't know what's in there. There's a lack of control. I told you to do it. Okay, it felt like you had no choice. And I want you to remember how that felt. Okay? And I want you to think about how often you might be feeling that sort of unease, that feeling of unease, or that you might be out of control with certain things. How often are you feeling that across your day-to-day life? Because the reality is, when we look at what life is like, especially life as a student, you don't freely have access to these 3 factors in a way that maybe non-students have the potential to access them on a daily basis. So let's look at certainty, for example. In a student's life, there's actually a large deal of uncertainty. Okay, on a daily basis, you are going to be reflecting on grades. You know, am I going to get the grades that I need? What happens if I don't get the grades that I need? Am I going to meet my future goals? If I don't meet my future goals, can I have the career that I want? Do I even know what the career is that I want to have? There's so many of those questions in your day-to-day life as a student. If you take control, there's not actually that much access to control, but there's a lot of pressure. Okay, your performance. I need to perform. I need to do well for this. Expectations. Not only do you have the expectations of yourself and what you want to achieve, and maybe achieving the goals you set out for yourself, you have the expectations of your university professors. You have the expectations of your family. You have the pressure. You know what it's like. You come out of an exam and everyone's like, all your friends are like, how did you do? And it's just this constant cycle of feeling the expectations of others, especially in a student life. And predictability, you don't really have that much. There's a lot of unpredictability as a student, right? You have deadlines set for you, but they're deadlines that might not fit your life, but you've got to go with it. There's systems in place that might not be predictable for you. Other people around you aren't as predictable. So the very things that our brain relies on, that certainty, control, and predictability, the very things that our brain relies on to feel safe, are the exact same things that are quite unstable in a student's life naturally. And so what can happen as a student, and as a non-student, but especially as a student, is that you can very often find yourself in this state of feeling sort of unsafe, or emotionally unsafe or overwhelmed. Okay? Naeem's saying this is why we always stay in our comfort zone. We fear the unknown. If we stay in this zone, we could lose so many good opportunities in life. Really, really insightful comment there, Naeem. This is true. This is really true. Let's talk about that a little bit more. I'm glad you've brought that up. Okay? What happens is you get this sort of oil and water type situation where your brain is constantly looking for certainty, control, and predictability, but your environment is giving you uncertainty, pressure, and unpredictability. Okay, and there's a mismatch, a very big mismatch. And when there is a mismatch anywhere in your life, your system, your body, your nervous system, it feels it. And what happens when you feel it is things can start to feel heavier than they should. And small things can start to feel bigger than they are. And your reactions can feel stronger than you expect. And then you start questioning yourself, we'll question ourselves, why am I reacting like this? And we'll start criticizing ourselves. Oh, you're just being silly. And this is the really important part that I want you to hold on to. It's not that you can't cope when you feel like this, it's that your system is overloaded. You're trying to function in an environment that isn't giving your brain what it needs to feel steady. Okay? And so, of course, things feel like a lot. You're not randomly struggling. Your body is responding to the pressure. And this is why things can just feel too much sometimes. Things can just feel too heavy, too much. And so what we need to do is work out how we can manage some of these feelings. Because unfortunately, part of the student life is that sometimes you are going to feel like you're overwhelmed and like things are too much. Okay, because the environment isn't always necessarily working with what you need. Okay, so it's your lucky day, gang, because I'm here to show you some ways that you can manage some of those feelings. Okay, so you may be thinking, right, Sarah, that's all very well and good. Thank you for all of that psychology stuff, but what can I actually do then? Because I can't change being a student. I'm a student, right? You're right. There are things in your environment that you just can't change at the moment, especially in the situation of being a student. And that is something that you are going to come up against again and again, even when you're done being a student. Just part of being in life is that you can't, unfortunately, always change the environment. There are always going to be things that are beyond our control. Okay, there are always going to be experiences in life that make us feel like, gosh, this is a bit too much. Okay, so whilst we can't always change the environment, we can absolutely change how supported we are within that environment. So what can we do? The first thing is we stop trying to fix the environment and instead focus on supporting our needs. So what does that look like in practice then? Okay, it looks like focusing on these three things: autonomy, competence, and connection. The idea being that if we maximize our feelings of autonomy, competence, and connection, it will maximize our feelings of well-being, regardless of what's going on in the environment. Okay, so this was discussed by some psychologists called Ryan and Deci, and it's called the self-determination theory. If there's anything, if you want to read about it further, but I'm going to give you a brief. I'm forwarding. I'm going to give you a brief overview of it here. Okay, so autonomy. What does that mean? Autonomy is basically the feeling that you get when you have your own choice over your life. So the question you need to ask yourself is, where can I create a bit more control? Okay. Competence is the feeling of being effective at whatever the task is that you're trying to do. Okay. So the question you need to ask yourself is, how can I make this issue feel more manageable? And then connection is the feeling of being heard by and feeling connected to other people. So you need to ask yourself, who or what, and I'll explain the what later, could support me. Okay, so Raneem's saying basically we can't control anything but ourselves. We can't control how people or life treat us, but we can control our reaction. Absolutely, Raneem. Spot on. Exactly that. Okay, and that's a really hard thing for people to accept because we thrive off the illusion of control, the idea that we can control so many things in our life. Externally, we really can't. To some aspects, we can. But the only thing that we can truly control is what's going on with us. Okay? And this is what I'm going to teach you to try and do. Okay? So, our strategies are the self-determination theory: autonomy, competence and connection. Our strategy is maximizing those three things. Okay, and that will boost your well-being and make things feel less overwhelming. Okay, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in practice. Okay, so we're going to do this example together. Okay, I want you to imagine you are in this scenario. Okay, it's probably one that you've been in because you're students, right? But you have an assignment that is due soon, like really soon. And so you open your laptop to start, but you don't know where to begin. You read the task again, and it still feels unclear. And you start thinking, oh, what if I do it wrong? I should understand this by now. You start getting cross at yourself. You start getting annoyed at yourself. So you just close that laptop and just tell yourself, I'll come back to that later. Okay? Show of hands, has anyone been in that situation? I'm going to put my hand up. I'm actually doing a research master's at this point in time, and I've been there. Okay? Yeah, it happens, right? Okay, so what can we do? So having a look at that scenario, why do situations like this often feel like they are too much? Let's break it down. Because there is uncertainty, there is pressure, and there is unpredictability. Uncertainty, because when you're looking at what you've got to do, the task feels unclear. It says here that you read it and you don't really understand it. That's uncertainty. Okay, we know that that is not compatible with having optimum well-being, uncertainty. There's pressure involved in this situation. There's expectations. There's the desire of getting certain grades. Okay, you know this because you're saying, I should know this. Okay, there's pressure from yourself, probably from external forces as well. And then there's unpredictability. You're unsure of where to start. You don't know what to do. And we know those three things are not conducive to optimum well-being. So, of course, you are starting to feel emotionally unsafe, unsettled. So having a look at the royal blue side there, what can you do to support yourself within those situations? Okay. Autonomy, competence, and connection. We need to maximize those three things. Autonomy. You need to ask yourself, where can I create a bit more control? Okay. One, you choose a starting point. You set a short time block that you're going to work on this. Okay. Giving you a bit more control. Competence. How can I make this feel more manageable? Instead of sitting down thinking I'm going to do this whole assignment, you can break it into smaller steps. You can focus on one part. And the third one, connection, which is hugely important in this, and which is where I would probably start, is who or what could support me here? Ask someone. Look at examples. Check in with other people that have got the same assignment to see what their understanding of the question is. Okay? And the what is, I'm not a massive proponent of AI, but it's a tool that exists and a tool that can be really helpful, especially with something like interpreting what the task requires. So you can type a question, you can put your task in and say, I'm really struggling to understand what this task requires of me. And it will reword that for you in a way that maybe you will be able to understand better. Okay, connection, ideally, is from other people. But we live in a world where there's tools at our disposal. Okay, so by maximizing autonomy, competence, and connection, you can give yourself a well-being boost. Okay, but notice that none of these solutions require the environmental situation to disappear, because it can't, right? You are a student and you are going to face these challenges. The solution is not fixing the environment. The solution is maximizing things to support yourself through it. Does that make sense? So now that we've done that model one together, I've got 3 examples and I've tried to piece together examples that are going to be relevant to your experience as a student, things that you may have experienced, things that you may experience in the future. And I want you to try and apply that template. I want you to be able to point out why something might feel too much. Okay. And I want you to try and point out how you might be able to support yourself within it by boosting autonomy, competence, and connection. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to work on this one. So this scenario, people keep asking you what you're going to do after university. Some people around you seem to already have a plan, but you still feel unsure. The more you think about jobs, careers, and the future, the more pressure you feel to have everything figured out. I wrote this one because I remember when I was at university, I really felt this. I really, really felt it. And I remember it used to make me feel awful. So what I want you to do is think about, why would this feel too much for someone? Where's the uncertainty? Where's the pressure? Where's the unpredictability? And once you've figured that out, I want you to think about, what could you do to maximize autonomy, competence, and connection in this situation? Okay. You can write in your notes on your piece of paper if you want to, but if you're feeling happy to share, I would absolutely love it if someone could jump on mic or write in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with, but I would love to hear your feedback. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to work on this one before we go through some answers together. Okay, is there anybody that would feel happy jumping on the mic or sharing in the chat? I just want to give you an opportunity in case there is. Okay, I'll go through some answers then. So someone's saying something brilliant. It's Raneem. Okay. Raneem's saying autonomy. I think we can start with trying to know ourselves better and do new things so we know what we like. Competence, remembering we are not in a competition with anyone and that what is meant for us will find us. Lovely. And connections, we can use internet or AI or even experts to tell us more about the majors. Yeah, excellent. You've got it. You've absolutely got it. Why is this forwarding? What's going on? Sorry, guys. Yeah, you've absolutely got it. Brilliant. So let's have a look at what I've got there. Okay. Why could this feel too much for someone? Because of the uncertainty. You're talking about an unknown career path. You're feeling uncertain. There's pressure. You've got the expectations from yourself, maybe your family, your friends, maybe from society. There's unpredictability. There's unpredictability in terms of placement opportunities, job opportunities, outcomes, the job market. You might not even know how to structure your CV in order to find out about any potential opportunities. There's so many different things, okay? So many areas that can impact your well-being. So how can you support yourself within this? Exactly like what was said by Renee, autonomy. Where can I create a bit more control? Just by identifying what matters to you, okay? The thing that can feel really hard about being a student is the choice, right? As if you think about how children are raised, they're not very often naturally given choice. And so all of a sudden being 18 and having to make choices about your entire life can feel really overwhelming when you're not well practiced in deciding what you actually want to do and being able to action it. So be gentle with yourself. It's the first time, typically, that people are doing these things. And instead of thinking about, like what, instead of trying to solve your entire future immediately, we can sort of ask ourselves, how do I support myself within this stage of uncertainty? And sometimes that overwhelm comes from trying to solve your entire future all at once. We don't need to do that. If you identify what matters to you first, the rest will start to follow. What are the things that you're interested in? What are the ways you like to work? Okay, that will start to lead you in a direction of where to look. Competence. How can I make this feel more manageable? You break future planning into small steps and you focus on skills. Focus on building your skills, not building your whole future. Okay, so for example, when I remember feeling really overwhelmed about all of this, and I thought, okay, I didn't know that I wanted to be a therapist and create my own business at all. I just knew I like talking to people. I'm really good at being empathetic, and I don't really like working in an office all day. That's what mattered to me. I wanted to be out and about working with people. And that's where I started. Okay, break it into small chunks. And then connection, who or what could support me? Okay. Speak to your mentors, lecturers, advisors, friends. You can even use AI. Okay, exactly what Reneen was saying. Perfect. Yeah, we humans, we should stop seeking perfection. Yeah, it's a really hard thing to do, though, right? Because I think there's a lot of pressure that is put on us sometimes. And, we're in a world filled with social media, and what makes a lot of money on social media is people portraying that things are perfect, even when they're not. So when we're constantly getting the message that, it seems like everybody else has got things together, it can make you feel even worse. But the truth is, no one really knows what they're doing. Everyone's just trying to do the best with what they've got. That's the truth. Remembering, so Leah saying something, remembering that we all came from different environments, upbringings and cultures helps put things in perspective. Naturally, everyone's life paths, including careers, won't be aligned, and it's okay to take things step by step and not compare every aspect. Absolutely, spot on. Couldn't have said it better myself. Exactly that. Everything in its own time. Okay, where I started in my career at university is completely different to what I do now. You don't just pick one job and then that's it. You stay in that forever. Life changes and morphs and stretches and is shaped by different experiences, and the outcome is beautiful, even if it isn't what you imagined. Okay. Next one. You have been offered an opportunity you've been offered an opportunity or placement that would require traveling or spending time away from home. Part of you feels really excited about the opportunity, but you also know that your family may not feel comfortable with it. And you feel torn between your own desires and goals, family or cultural expectations, and then fear of disappointing people you care about. Okay, this may be one that resonates with you, maybe one that feels real for you. I want you to try and apply what we've been learning to this situation. Think about, what is it that might make this feel too much? What is it that is giving the uncertainty, pressure, and unpredictability? And then think about how you could support yourself within that. A couple of minutes to do that now. Again, in your notes, or if you feel comfortable, I would love to see, there's been some really, really insightful, beautiful messages that people have shared here. If we could keep doing that, that would be amazing. 2 minutes. Just do 30 more seconds for you to get your thoughts down. Again, please do share in the chat if you feel comfortable doing so. If not, I can just share my thoughts on the next slide. Excellent. Someone's posting. It's Renee. Okay. Renee saying autonomy. We could explain to your family how this opportunity would change your life. Competence. Personally, I think that we should be number one in our lives. So I feel that I want it, I will go. And connection, you can talk about it with close friends. Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Renee. Exactly. So you can maximize those feelings. Let's have a look at what I've put. Okay. So where does that feeling of too much comes from? It comes from, again, the uncertainty, the pressure, the unpredictability, the uncertainty of what will happen. How will my family react? What decision do I make? The pressure, guilt is a big one. Guilt, feeling responsible, fear of disappointing others, fear of not fulfilling your goals. So many complicated emotions that you'd be going through in this situation, and a lot of pressure. And then unpredictability. You don't know what the future outcomes could be. You don't know how other people might react. You don't know how you might react. You don't know whether you might feel resentment if you stay, or whether you'll feel like you don't enjoy it if you go. There's so many different things going on. Okay. And it's a normal response to feel overwhelmed by that. Okay. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Okay. How can I support myself within this? Okay. Rand is saying, weigh the pros and cons and see what's best for your future. Talk to people with similar experiences, and the family will want the best for you. Yeah, obviously, the good thing about this template is that it's going to be different for everybody. What makes people feel connected is going to be different for different people. So it's a really personable approach and template. So I've put some ideas here. For autonomy, where can I create a bit more control? Honest conversations, exploring compromises, identifying what matters to you personally. It doesn't mean necessarily ignoring family expectations by any means. It means asking yourself, where can I still have some voice? Where can I still have some choice within this? Okay. Competence. How can I make this feel more manageable? So you could do it by gathering as much information as possible about what the opportunity is, what the placement is, where you've been living, these things, by planning carefully what it would look like if you actually went or if you stayed, and prepping conversations that you would have with family members about this. Okay. And then your connection, who could support you? A mentor or any other trusted person. Okay. But I included this example because sometimes a lot of overwhelm can come from feeling like you have to choose between yourself and the people that you love. Okay, it can be a really challenging situation in terms of your well-being. Okay. And the last one that we're going to do together. Okay. We're trying to focus on university, on assignments and the demands of everyday life, but the ongoing uncertainty of the regional tension is always sitting in the background. Okay? You may be experiencing interception noise, emergency alerts, and a constant stream of social media updates, which make it hard to switch off. And even after the moment passes, part of your brain still feels alert. You try to carry on as normal, but notice it has become harder to fully switch off. Okay? It's harder to settle, it's harder to focus in the way that you usually would. You're tired. Okay? Obviously, a situation that is impacting a lot of people right now. So I really want you to think about where does that feeling come from? And what could you do to try and support yourself using our template in this situation? This is a really challenging one because this is the ultimate, we cannot change the environment. Okay? So how can you support yourself within the constraints of your environment? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes to have a look at this, and please do share. About 30 more seconds. If you feel comfortable doing so, please share in the chat or on the mic. Some are coming through. Thank you, Renee. Renee's saying autonomy. I'd start with breathing exercises and I will start studying for a short amount of time. I write my tasks down. It makes it feel easier. I think myself would support me in the situation. I just have to remind myself that I can do it. Yeah, lovely. And Leah's saying it's important to not totally isolate yourself in such situations by finding a balance between mindful moments for yourself and light-hearted moments around people you feel comfortable with. Doing things part of your usual routine can also help ground you. Absolutely amazing things there. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, brilliant. Let's have a look at my suggestions on the next slide. Okay, so again, why does it feel too much? Because of the uncertainty and not knowing what may happen next. Ongoing awareness of that instability. Again, it's a social media era that we live in. We have access to so much information. Doesn't always make a lot of sense, but we have access to it, right? Pressure, trying to continue functioning normally. And when you're in a situation like this for such a long time, there's a lot of pressure coming from so many different places to kind of keep calm and carry on and to normalize things because we have to kind of carry on with life. And that is a lot of pressure. because sometimes you get little subcultures of people being like, there's worse things happening in the world, but it doesn't nullify your experience, right? If you're feeling anxious, then that is a legitimate experience. It's okay to feel anxious or worried, okay? Even when the world is kind of telling you to keep calm and carry on. Okay, unpredictability, sudden alerts, changing information, loud noises. Okay, that's why it feels too much. So what can we do? Randy's saying, take care of yourself and well-being and only worry about what you can, trusting in God's plan. Yeah, absolutely. Again, all of these things are really personal. And what works for you is what works for you. You've got to go with what works for you. How can I support myself within this? Here are some suggestions. So where can I create a bit more control? And again, none of these involve changing the environment. It's about supporting yourself within your environment. You can create small moments of control. Okay, this is a big one. You can create small moments of control. It sounds really silly, especially in the wider context of what's happening in the world, but something as simple as, I found a new recipe today and I'm going to try cooking that today. That is control where you can have it. Okay? Something as small as that can make you fit, that can have a phenomenal impact. Okay, I work a lot with families that have toddlers, right? And if you think about toddlers, they don't have much choice, 3-year-olds, they don't have much choice about anything. Okay, but when you give them a choice between a red cup and a green cup, it makes their day, right? Because people feel better when they have control over something, even if it's small, especially in situations of high stress. Okay, you can create routines for yourself that work for you. It goes a really long way. I can't stress that enough. Create small moments of control, especially when there is so little control with what's going on in the environment. Competence. How can I make this feel more manageable? And this is exactly what Rant was saying. Focus on immediate priorities. Sadly, there are things we cannot control. So you have to focus on what your immediate priorities are, which means if you are in an alert situation and your immediate priority is to shelter in place, focus on that one instance. Okay, if your next task for the day is I need to make lunch, focus on that. Focus on the moment and find ways to support your nervous system. Okay, we are depending on where you are in the world, you are in a state of cycling through fight or flight. So you need to find ways to bring your nervous system down when you can. For some people, that might look like mindfulness. For some people, it looks like more movement. I'm one of those people. I need to move. I need to get that energy out. So for me, it's going outside and playing with my son. It might look different for some people. It might look sitting down with a good book and reading and taking yourself into a fantasy world of your book. Okay, it's personable to you. Okay, and connection. Who or what could support me? Stay connected to grounding people. This is really important. Different people cope in different ways, and you will probably see it. Okay, I always say there's kind of two categories of people in emergency or stressful situations. You have people that go on a Reddit binge and they need to find out all the information they can find as possible and read over and over and over again. That, for some reason, calms them down. And then you have other people that are like, I don't really want to know anything and I'm just going to carry on with my life. Those are both legitimate strategies. Whatever strategy works for you, that is where you need to align yourself with. If you are somebody that needs to read 50,000 Reddit posts a day to feel calm about what's going on regionally, you need to align yourself with the other Reddit fans. Okay? If you are somebody that takes the opposite strategy, you need to align yourself with people that take that strategy. The two shall not mix. Okay, it's a recipe for disaster when those two types of coping strategy mix. Okay, you need to do what is best for you. Okay, And the big one is seek professional support if you feel like you need it. Okay? That is a huge one. There is absolutely no shame in seeking professional support. Okay? What I want to highlight here is that when you are feeling unsettled in any of these situations, it is not because there's something wrong with you. Okay? If you're feeling like things are too much, it does not mean that you are failing. Okay? It does not mean that you are weak. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that you are a human. Okay? And you're doing what your brain is built to do. It signals that it needs less pressure. Okay? It's signaling that it needs more support. So it needs less pressure and about trying to fix things in your environment and more support with what you are already carrying. That is what that means. It means your body is doing what it's supposed to do. It's telling you to run or fight. Okay? That's what it's telling you to do. We just need to find a way to keep it supported so that we can, when we're in situations where we can't change the environment. Okay? So, oh, keeps flicking. So, I cannot believe that we are nearly at the end of our hour already. So, what I want to say is before I give you the opportunity for questions, which I would love for you to do, if you've listened to this session and you're thinking, you know, I want to focus more on the connection sides of my needs, I want to get some more support or anything, you can always find me. I'm always available on Instagram. If you scan that QR code or you search for the Life Stage Lab online, you will find me on Instagram. Don't search Sarah Williams because you won't find me that way. You'll find me through the Life Stage Lab. And I'm always there to help.
We tried.
Okay. Are there any questions at any time? You guys have been fabulous. Thank you for being so open and honest in the chat as well. That can be a really hard thing to do in a forum. And there's some people that I feel like are natural psychologists in here, natural therapists in here. No problem at all. No problem. Thank you. You're always welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
when we talked about all the, do you have any, oh, someone's asking here, do you have any advice for overthinking?
Overthinking, yes. This is one that a lot of people have, right? A lot of people struggle with that, including myself, a mental health professional, right? Overthinking, sorry, that's my cat screaming outside the door. It happens when I'm in the home office. Apologies if you can hear.
No worries.
It stems from, again, it stems from the same drive of wanting to keep yourself safe. Okay, overthinking is linked for an attempt to grasp some sort of control, right? Overthinking tends to be, let me think about all the possible outcomes and prepare for them in every single way possible in case something goes wrong. Okay, overthinking comes from the energy of sort of angst, anxiety. And so I would genuinely say you want to approach it in the same way. Okay, the same way as the little template that we have just broke down there. You want to think, okay, whatever is causing me to overthink, there's an environmental situation that I cannot change. I can only change the way that I navigate and support myself through this. And so what's so good about the template that I've given you, you can apply that to so many different things. So I would say exactly what we've been practicing in this session, you can do with whatever the specific situation is that's got you into this spiral of sort of anxious overthinking. No problem at all, Renee. Happy to help. Any more for any more?
I had a question about some of the coping mechanisms. When do you start to realize that maybe those يعني coping techniques aren't as healthy? I've picked up some Candy Crush game ever since the start of and honestly, it's like I'm looking at the time I spent on my phone and I'm appalled. So, what advice do you have for us?
Really made me laugh. Okay. So I think there's two things at play here. The first thing I'm going to say, Miss Lemia, is be gentle with yourself because there's a lot regionally that's happening. Okay? There's a lot regionally that's been happening for years and years and years and years and years. There's a lot that's happening regionally that you may have cultural connection to. You may have experiences in childhood where what's happening now could be triggering something for you. I don't know, right? But in situations of instability, we go to things that cause us that give us comfort. Okay? And my argument would be, unless it is causing you a problem in terms of you're spending all your money on Candy Crush, you're refusing to spend time with your family because of Candy Crush, you're not eating because of Candy Crush, you'd rather go on Candy Crush than socialize.
Yeah.
And I would say go for it because there's a lot going on, right? You've got to pick where your battles are. I would say in the grand scheme of things, you spending an hour of Candy Crush a day where it's not impacting anything in your life, you're just thinking, do you know what? This is my comfort thing at the moment. I think is fine because there's just a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
And I would say Candy Crush being your addiction is probably one of the safest, best addictions to have. The problem would be if it starts interfering with day-to-day typical healthy functioning, then it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
So I would say as long as your coping mechanism isn't harmful to yourself, others, be it physically, emotionally, or socially, and it's something that is providing you comfort right now, then it's cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Candy Crush is good.
Yeah, Candy Crush is good.
I might have to download it. It's been years since I've played Candy Crush.
Raneem has her hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have a question.
Go ahead.
So when we have like toxic defense mechanisms and we are aware of it and we know why we are doing this, how we can heal?
Oh, that's a big, big question. So, because of the setting you're in, I'm going to give you an example rather than ask you to give me an example of a toxic defense mechanism, okay? So, if you have a toxic defense mechanism of, for example, when somebody says something to you and they're challenging what you say, and they might be challenging you in a respectful way, but it triggers something in you, and you feel like you're on the defensive and you might have a response where you lash out at that person and shout at that person, but you know they don't deserve it. And you know where it comes from, but you still don't feel like you can sort that out and find solutions. Then that is an indication that you need support in helping you unpack those difficulties and work through them. So I would say in that situation, if somebody is going through that situation where they're in a cycle of harmful behaviors and they know that it's harmful, but they still feel like they can't heal from that, that's something that needs support to help them work it through.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem at all. Thank you. And thank you for contributing so well. Like you had some really insightful comments. Thank you.
I'm really happy to be here.
Yay! Glad you came.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. It was lovely having you. The insights you shared, the tools, really being kind to ourselves, I think is my number one lesson here. So thank you so much for your time. I'll be sharing this your flyer again with everyone here who joined us, and for those who couldn't as well, we'll be sure to share the recording with them. We'd love to see you here again sometime soon. So thank you all so much as well for joining us. Looking forward to having you at our next session. We'll send you the details on email. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.